All right. Well, welcome to today's segment, the sales tax audit tip of the week. New thing I want to do every Monday. I think it would be great. I think it'd be really good for you, for me, for everybody. I hope you enjoyed the music. Hope it's inspirational for this Monday morning. Before we get started with my tip, because of course it's going to be pretty quick. Tips don't take too long. But I want to provide some motivation to your Monday morning, I guess, as I look for motivation myself Mondays. And today, the motivational thought comes from Fred Rogers. So Mr. Rogers, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with Mr. Rogers. My wife and I recently watched the movie with Tom Hanks last night. It's a fantastic movie. You got to kind of see into his mind and how he operates, and it was pretty phenomenal. And I definitely want to be more like Fred Rogers. He just cares about everybody, and genuinely cares. It's not fake, and his daily routines show how much he cares. And so let me share this quote with you. And I think this quote goes well with today's kind of worldly climate. But it says, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping,'" which I thought was awesome, because you flick on the news and what do you see? Disaster, bashing of one another. But if you look closely, you can see that these people that are enduring these disasters, they're not alone. People are helping, and agreed, sometimes help can become a little quicker, but there's always people there, people with kind hearts that are ready and willing to help. And so I hope that if you have the opportunity to help someone out today, that you take advantage of that. All right, now on to the tip for the day. This tip, all my tips are going to be coming from our ultimate guide to finding a sales tax audit. And you can find that in the description down below or up above, depending on the medium that you are watching this today. And you can download that for free. And maybe next time you can guess what next week's tip will be. So if you haven't downloaded the audit guide yet, I would suggest doing that. So today's tip, I wanted to go over what kind of companies get audited and why. Now, there could be hundreds of different reasons why, but more often than not, there's some factors that go into it. And sometimes it's just a case of bad luck. But as the data suggests, companies are most often not selected at random, but are evaluated by a number of factors. So let's go through those. One being industry, another being past audit history, the volume of sales a company reports to the state, a volume of exempt sales that are claimed on the sales tax returns. And they'll look at and the last is we'll look at the ratio of exempt sales to your total sales. And so all those are red flags that auditors will be looking for when they go into sales tax audit. Well, when they're evaluating someone to audit for sales tax. And most of these factors might seem obvious to you, but companies with a history of negative audits usually get targeted until those audits kind of no longer produce results for the state. Companies that have high revenues, they'll find themselves in a perennial audit, whereby any number of auditors from multiple states may come in and audit you on an annual basis, which is crazy. But those of you listening from larger companies will know that this is true, and it can be very meticulous. And sometimes it seems like the auditors, you kind of have an office for each state that comes and audits you annually. So you'll just have, their area set up year round. And it's also not surprising that companies that report a high ratio of exempt sales to total sales, that raises a flag, especially if that ratio isn't consistent throughout the year and your industry peers. And so you need to be aware of that. And what's less evident to most people is, the first criteria that I mentioned, industry. And this factor seems to be accounting for more and more audit activity across the US. And it really doesn't show any signs of slowing down. I think they kind of get in that trend because they become familiar with the industry. So they just look at every industry that's doing business within their state, and they can get pretty efficient at it, and they know what they're looking for, and they know what kind of money it's going to bring in. So that is my tip for the day, and I hope you enjoyed this segment, and we'll be doing this segment every week. Be looking for 2 different segments throughout this week, and looking forward to talking with you guys more often throughout the week. All right, well, I hope to see you guys on another one.